Hello and welcome to Dove Biology, APES Lessons to Go. In today's video, we'll be discussing sustainable development. Since most local governments obtain their revenue to provide services from property taxes, most land use planning in the United States can lead to poorly controlled urban sprawl in order to meet the economic needs of the locality. Now, most governments will control their land use through zoning, in which various parcels of land will be designated for certain uses. Sort of like the old Maxis game SimCity, where you would designate certain areas for residential, industrial, or business. Now, a positive for using zoning is that if used effectively, you could actually use zoning to protect ecologically sensitive areas, and you can promote growth where infrastructure exists to create growth areas. A negative to zoning is it can favor high-priced development over the environment. As we try to raise money for a locality, maybe they would allow for an expansion of a growth area, which then would favor that growth over protecting those ecologically sensitive areas. Now, as cities grow, they should use a technique called smart growth, in which you control the growth of a city by discouraging urban sprawl, growing only in certain areas. Reduce your car dependence by using things like mass transit or offering pedestrian areas or bike lanes. And make sure that you protect those ecologically sensitive areas. One tool that we can use for smart growth is cluster development. With cluster development, high-density housing units can be concentrated on one portion of a parcel, with the rest of the land used commonly for commonly shared open space. Your typical housing development allots equal amounts of land to each of the homes that are being built. This oftentimes is going to really alter the landscape. By encouraging cluster development, as you can see in this image here, we actually are able to maintain a lot of the original ecological components while clustering those homes in one part of this parcel. One big thing is that the marsh or pond is maintained along with the rolling stream that didn't have to be filled in or covered up using culverts. And so that allows for the land to continue to do a lot of its original ecological functions. Another smart growth tool is, we're seeing more and more, is the movement to create mixed-use villages and neighborhoods where you have both businesses and homes together so that folks can live, work, and shop closer to their homes. So, in Albemarle County, we actually see a lot of these mixed-use villages like Hollymead Town Center and Albemarle Place, which is now called Stonefield, where it's going to have both homes and businesses, allowing for folks to work and perhaps shop right nearby each other. Another really great smart growth tool is what we call infill development. Here, we're able to use previously unoccupied properties inside a city or redevelop a previous area into a more sustainable form. We see a lot of infill development happening downtown near the train tracks as we see that growth and modification of abandoned areas. The downtown area where they have the farmers market, we're probably going to see quite a bit of infill development as that really important real estate is being looked at for more efficient use of that space. Now, as we are developing our cities, to do so sustainably means that we should preserve a lot of green space. A lot of urban areas often have limited green space. Green space actually limits growth. If we look at Central Park in New York, notice how the growth, the buildings go up to the park, and then we don't have any additional development into that park. It provides vital ecological services like photosynthesis to replenish the oxygen for the area to perhaps absorb some of the urban pollution. to provide for an opportunity for rainwater and things to re-infiltrate into the ground and recharge the groundwater, as well as being opportunities for recreation. One way to preserve green space is through the use of conservation easements. With a conservation easement, people are provided economic benefits like tax incentives for placing restrictions on the development of their property. In Albemarle County, there are a number of conservation easements already in place. Another great way to preserve green space is to establish a predetermined green belt around a large city. That way, you've established how far that city can grow, as well as it provides open space for recreation. Now, some cities have actually converted unused or abandoned land areas into hiking and jogging paths called greenways. In Albemarle County, in Charlottesville, we have the Rivanna Trail. So there's those thin little areas of land that really can't be developed that are right along the Rivanna River. And so we've established that Rivanna Trail. Now, unfortunately, most cities are unsustainable. They are high throughput economies. They require a lot of things to run the city, and they produce a lot of wastes. As urbanization increases, in order to be more sustainable, we should utilize the eco-city concept as we create new cities or reform current ones. The eco-city concept relies on the 4 principles of sustainability. There is the reliance on solar energy by encouraging walking and biking, as well as utilizing passive and active solar to heat and power the city. We are being much more sustainable. Encouraging biodiversity by preserving green space, and in those green spaces utilizing native plants so that it minimizes the amount of water and fertilizer needed to maintain them. We can rely on recycling. The materials that come into the city, instead of producing a lot of waste, make sure that we recycle a lot of those materials back into the city. And for the little bit that is produced as waste, we responsibly throw that away. And then finally, we focus on population control. We make sure that our cities are designed to grow in a specific way, to grow up, and that it encourages low growth. That we find ways to maximize the amount of space that is available, so that way we can protect biodiversity further by preserving the surrounding lands.